Good morning, good afternoon. It is H. Robert Silverstein, MD, for the Preventive Medicine Center. Today's actual date is March 11th. You can definitely feel that spring is on March 11th, 2024. You can definitely feel that spring is on the way. However, as is usual during the springtime, when it's winter spring, there's a significant wind, which makes it feel much colder and not like spring at all. However, the temperature may be 50 degrees, the sun is brighter, and you start to see signs of spring everywhere. Okay, so what is it we're going to talk about today? Uh, Number of points. First of all, uh, I'd like to briefly discuss the State of the Union address by President Biden. As a longstanding liberal Democrat, I was horribly disappointed in his anger and his, well, that was really the main point. Now, as a physician, having watched him all along, it is absolutely apparent to me that he is on uppers for these kinds of presentations. His energy was high, but he was speed and amphetamines and dextroamphetamine and what's called salt. All of these things often make people rush and be angry. And that was too apparent in the State of the Union speech. I want Democrats to behave correctly, not anything like that. So, continuing on now, if you'd like to know more about that, go to my Facebook. I have a bunch of posts there. It's already a few days ago, so you'll have to go back to Thursday, which I literally wrote as he was speaking and entered the room. Going on next. I don't feel as safe in West Hartford as I used to. There is a certain sense of lawlessness and threat that I feel the current administration is responsible for. It seems to me that crime is up, and this is under our current Democrat administration. That's not a complaint, that's a statement of fact. So if it's so, then let it be so recorded, noted, and responded to. Now, a lot of people in various, interestingly, of Democrat-run cities report that crime is down. And that's because it's not being prosecuted nor reported. Crime is not down, crime is up. Murder, rape, carjackings, and so on. By the way, I heard about a trick that people will play on you. They will put an empty plastic bottle on your tire so that as you start to move, you'll hear this loud noise. Then what you will do is get out of the car, which unlocks the door on the passenger side, and then someone else will reach into your car and take whatever they can that's on the seats. So the point being is, if you hear a large crack, suspect such and don't respond or get out of the car. Now, this also brings up the issue of defense, and that is a question for each of you to decide. Now, I want to talk about this. What is this? This is like the Cavitron. I don't know if you can maybe hear that. And what you're supposed to do is put this in your mouth like the Cavitron at the dentist, and it's supposed to loosen up plaque. I think that's a good idea. Next, I want to talk about some of the better diabetes medications. The incidence of diabetes is vastly increasing. By the way, if you'd really like to see a video presentation of what I presented at First Baptist Cathedral in Bloomfield, the largest Black Baptist church in the state, I believe, but certainly in the area. And I have a slideshow on my Preventive Medicine Center homepage. It's called The Unhappening of Heart Disease. And that's an article that I wrote that was published in the European literature a little over a year ago, January of 2023. So it's relatively recent. And of course, it's up to date. It was up to date 20 years ago. Let's see, 1990, 34 years ago when I first published it. It was up to date for today when I first published in 1990, and again in 2003, and then 2023. So what is about is the unhappening of heart disease, which the approach I use is the simultaneous prevention of multiple diseases: diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, gout, uric acid elevations, elevations of blood sugar, risk of cancer of the breast, uterus, colon, prostate, diverticulitis, constipation, and so on. Now, that's sort of the natural approach without medications. What do I think of medications? An idea has occurred in my mind that I, I'm a physician. I prescribe tons of medications, but I would prefer to do everything naturally. Doing things naturally is no longer as easy as it used to be because we have created so many alternatives of potato chips and Doritos and hamburgers and hot dogs and pizza. And forgive me for what forgive is the wrong word. I'm going to speak truth. Yes, that's it. I'm just going to speak the truth. I was trying to think what the phrase is: truth to whomever, truth to power. I'm going to speak truth to power. Most medications should not be used because they could be done naturally. And one of the things when patients ask me, what are the side effects? I make a joke and tell the truth. All drugs are poison. I hope I don't kill you. Or I should go on, kill you or cause some other adverse effect. The idea would be how not to need medications. But when medications are prescribed, as a general rule, there are, quote, best medications. Now, using that word best, I say the following. The best physicians have the highest frequency of best guessing. Everything a physician does, except say hello and be polite and friendly, is a best guess. They think this is better than that, and they think they've read the literature and understand the implications. It ultimately turns out to be judgment, which is guessing. So here are some of my guesses. The two medications that should be used in every diabetic, unless there is a contraindication to their use, not an insurance rejection, a contraindication, a reason not to use it, is the group of GLP and SGLT medications. That's Ozempic, Mounjaro for the GLP-1, and Jardiance, Farxiga, Invokana for SGLT2. Those are the best medications. Oftentimes, insulin-dependent diabetics, even type 1, can get off insulin, which kicks the heart. Get off insulin by the use of Ozempic or Mounjaro. Now, I actually think that Mounjaro might be a little more effective, but what counts is what your insurance company will pay for. Well, what if it won't pay for those? Then what about purchasing Wegovy or Zendep? I think that's how it's pronounced, Zendep. Zendep is being the Mounjaro non-diabetic format for weight loss. The major problem these days in a person who does not smoke or consume significant alcohol is diet. Diet is the cause of high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, cancer of the breast, uterus, colon, prostate, heart attack, open heart surgery, angioplasty, and so on. Now you may say, no, wait a minute. It runs in my family. It runs in your family because there is a genetic sensitivity. And then what that family does causes the expression of that genetic sensitivity. A couple of ways to explain it. First of all, a little quiz. How much sunbathing should an albino do? How much sunbathing should an albino do? And the answer is the person who is an albino has a genetic sensitivity, so much so that they absolutely should not do any sunbathing. That's how genetic diseases mostly occur. I'm not talking about sickle cell anemia, where it doesn't make any difference what you do, you have sickle cell anemia. But I'm talking about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglyceride, diabetes, cancer of the breast, uterus, colon, prostate, heart attack, open heart surgery, angioplasty, stents, etc. So another way to look at that is if I have a match over here and gasoline over here, I don't have any problem until I bring them together. So if I don't bring them together, there's no problem. If if you have that sensitivity, but you don't express that sensitivity by coming together, then the explosion doesn't occur. The genetic predisposition disorder does not occur. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, diabetes, cancer of the breast, uterus, colon, prostate, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I said I use a lot of medications, and I do. And there are always best medications. So I mentioned the Ozempic group, Ozempic Mounjaro group, and I mentioned the Farxiga, Jardiance, Invokana. By the way, I think the format of advertising on TV ought to be completely changed. What should be said is none of the list of side effects, but it should be said there may be side effects. Check with your physician before taking this medication. And that's all you need to go to. That could shorten those ads and save those drug companies a lot of money, which they could either turn into profit for their investors, which includes many of you who have 401ks that are invested for you, or it could result in a reduction in the cost of producing the medication and therefore the actual cost to you. By the way, one of the major problems that I have in my office and every physician has is pre-authorizations, prior authorizations. Those are horribly time consuming, bothersome, unfriendly, and difficult. Recently, I had a patient who had very classical severe disc pain, but because I hadn't ordered any x-rays, I wasn't allowed to order an MRI. I knew the patient had a severe disc problem because of the radiation and in the movement of the pain, the incapacity that the patient had, and needed surgical relief. Physical therapy was not going to work in this patient. It was perfectly out. The insurance company said no. And it made me order x-rays, made me order physical therapy. And then after all that, it cleared the MRI, which proved my point. And the patient underwent surgery with the successful relief of their problem. Changing the subject. I just looked at this to see how much time I have left. I need prompts because I have no sense of time. When I get on this program, I get so involved. Now, what this is this is a Pyrex timer. And what you can do is you can set it. And I set it for 25 minutes. Almost every kitchen has one of these, like a reamer. Let's talk about the reamer before I finish with this. What is a reamer? It's one of those cone-shaped dishes that you can make orange juice with, or you can get the juice of a lemon or a lime out of. If you use the juice of a lemon plus lime at the table, it completely replaces the need for salt in the cooking. Now, if you put it in the cooking while you cook, it pretty much disappears. So you make a soup with your vegetables, but you don't put any salt, any bouillon in it. And then you bring your vegetables and broth to the table, and you pour in some of this lemon juice plus lime juice, and it gives you the salt flavor that you're looking for. By the way, a patient talked to me about how to make chicken soup, and I actually think chicken soup is somewhat medicinal. So what I said is, sure, go ahead, cook your chicken soup. I didn't want the person to eat the chicken soup. Here's a little FYI that'll catch some attention. Chicken is the #1 food that is associated with weight gain and or lack of weight loss. Not chips, not crackers, not bread, not cereal, not pasta, not cakes, not cookies, not ice cream, not yogurt, not whipped cream. Chicken is the #1 cause of weight gain and lack of weight loss. So that's the #1 food I tell my patients not to eat. Plus the fact the saturated fat from chicken or cheese or meat inhibits the production of what's called the GLUT4 receptor. And that is how glucose, which is in the blood, gets into the cell. So if you don't have those receptors, then the sugar remains high. And that sugar is picked up at the liver and converted into free fatty acids, which are then put into the blood when the liver is overloaded as triglycerides. What do triglycerides do? They cause hardening of the arteries. The average person with a heart attack has a triglyceride level of 225. The average person with a heart attack has take the total cholesterol, subtract the number for the good HDL cholesterol, total minus HDL, and that's called non-HDL cholesterol. I call it ATB, all of the bad. And it is all of the bad, whereas LDL is only part of the bad. Total cholesterol minus HDL, that number needs to be 90 or less. Triglycerides need to be 100 or less. Your A1C diabetes test needs to be 4.4 or lower up to the age of 44 and not above 6.2 at age 62 or after. Now, we got to work backwards. Lemon juice plus lime juice replaces the need for salt in the cooking, and that is salt is and overweight. Salt, overweight, and alcohol are the major causes of high blood pressure. When I have trouble controlling a patient's blood pressure, first of all, I have to check to see if they're taking their medications. It is usually due to salt or some salt-containing food. They're using cans of beans that are high in salt. They're using tomato sauce, which is high in salt. They're putting cheese on whatever, which is high in salt. By the way, not that I recommend cheese, but I think goat cheese is probably healthier than cow milk cheese. I don't have a lick of support for that, but I will say this, and I've said it already before, physicians guess, and the best physicians have the best guessing rate. That's my guess. I may not be the best physician, but I may be guessing right on that one. Goat cheese over cow milk cheese. I haven't taken a position on unpasteurized yet. I don't really know about the safety of that. Every now and then I hear about somebody who decides to drink unpasteurized milk and then they develop a severe infection. But that apparently is not the usual rule. But as I said, I'm not ready to take a position. So you're going to ream the lemon plus lime juice in order to to replace salt in your cooking. Now, what's this? This is a timer, and it's going to go off in 5 minutes. I set it for 25 minutes so that I would know. No, wait a minute. Yeah, I set it for 25 minutes. So obviously 20 minutes has gone by, and it's going to, let me make it go off. I don't know why that didn't happen. Anyhow, sitting here at my home office, which is my kitchen table, I have a computer in front of me, HP computer. And to the right of me, I have a large HP monitor. because the computer really is frankly not big enough, even when I do Control Plus. And the monitor, though, shows things on my right, shows things much bigger, and that's much more comfortable. So I set this for every 15 to 20 minutes. And when this goes off, unlike I just showed you, when it goes off, I then get up and exercise for a couple of minutes with these weights, neoprene, 3, 5, and 10-pound weights. And I do the cross-country ski action front to back, and then sometimes up, and sometimes one hand up and the other hand up, and then sometimes side to side like this. And then I do that until I get a little short of breath. Then I may sit down, and a minute or so later, I may pick up heavier weights and again exercise until I get a little short of breath, and then go back to fooling around on the computer. Now, I had that sitting in this. This is a vacuum system. There's a lid that goes on this, and then you put this gadget on top of it. It's called VACSYS, Vaxis. And I bought it many years ago. It's from Germany. This is nice, heavy glass dish. I don't know if it's oven proof. It doesn't say so, but you know me, I don't read the directions. So it might be oven proof. But regardless, I don't store things in plastic containers as much as possible. One of the big discussions these days are PFAS chemicals, PFAS chemicals, perfluoro and peralkyl fluoral something or other. And they get in and have been found in plaques of hardening of the arteries and are hormonally active. I've said this before. To me, there is an increased incidence of gender dysphoria, which I think is being provoked by chemical pollution in our food, air, and water. Not entirely. There have always been people whose whose sexual predispositions are not opposite. In other words, male to female or female to male. There have always been that group of people who were predisposed to be attracted to members of the same sex. But I think the frequency of that, which has apparently increased, is not a sign of the healthy environment. I think this is provoked and one of the issues that we have created. It's gone off. So that tells me I set the alarm for 25 minutes. And now I'll set it for 25 minutes. So I'll get up and exercise in 25 minutes, which will mean 5 minutes after this is over, I'll start to count down again. So now I know I have 5 minutes left on this show. So that's it. My favorite beta blocker, by the way, is not atenolol, tenormin, or toprol, metoprolol succinate, or tartrate. My favorite beta blocker is nebivolol. The trade name is Bistolic, and it does. When you talk about what medications have been cleared for the use in congestive heart failure, I think the guideline, yes, there are 3 medications, metoprolol succinate, carvedilol, and I think timolol. I'm not sure what the third one is. Just because medicine has not been studied does not mean it's not as good or better. And I prefer to treat my patients with congestive heart failure with nebivolol. Now, there is some proof that shows that may or may not be the best decision. For instance, when they compared carvedilol to metoprolol, there were fewer arrhythmias when patients were treated with carvedilol. And I think that's important and worth keeping in mind. The benefit of the nebivolol is that it's a vasodilator, a platelet inhibitor, and opens blood vessels up and at the same time is very selective for the beta 1 receptors. But propranolol and carvedilol also affect the beta 2 receptors. All right. So I haven't talked about this. I believe that this being used on your teeth is a good idea. This one is, I buy it at BJ's. It's called Glide. So you should be cleaning your teeth not only with your toothbrush, not only with this purchasable Cavitron, but also with that. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Good day and God bless you all. I am H. Robert Silverstein, MD, for the Preventive Medicine Center. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them at the Preventive Medicine Center website or simply call the office at 860-549-3444, Tuesday 10 through 4 o'clock. We don't pick up before 10. We don't answer after 4. So do those, if you want to call and ask a question, you can do that. Of course, the usual joke, which has to do with fundraising for West Hartford Cable Access TV and the Preventive Medicine Center, both of which are 501c3 charitable and tax-deductible educational organization. And SMF, as my older son said, send millions fast. That's what he wrote to me in letters when he was in college. He has an excellent sense of humor. All right, that's it. Enjoy it. See you next month. Good day and God bless you all as spring is starting to happen.